Welcome back, welcome back. Ladies and gentlemen, just about, I would say, 16, 17 years ago, on Trinidad and Tobago television, on a night program, three very powerful and influential figures sat in as young men with me on a very important program where we discussed the Constitution. The three figures that sat in there at that time when they were young attorneys was Prakash Ramadhar, Larry Lala, and Anand Ramlogan.
Yes.
I never forgot that. Sitting in with me now is the Congress of the Congress of the People political leader is here with us, and much anticipated. Quite a lot is being said, and I think that the vitamin boost that the Congress of the People needed, it certainly got it with the amount of attention that is being placed on this particular internal election. I've often said this is one man I'll stain my finger for any time, and here he is with us, Prakash Ramadhar. My condolences, first of all, to you, my brother, and that's certainly a great loss. Many people have been talking extensively about your father, but you said something that was so vivid and lucid to me when you spoke about that fear, that childhood fear, and immediately I reflected on my own fear of losing your parents, especially when they played such a powerful and important part in your life. And that was so profound. That was such a profound statement. How have you been holding up?
Well, first of all, thank you for your kind words. My family and I are lifted by the support we've had from across the nation. Yeah. My father's name is what I live to, and people recognize who he was, and they see it reflected in me, and I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to be able to honor him in that way. So by doing the right things and living up to the expectations of my father in his life, and certainly now in his passing, I feel a great strength, a connection to generations gone and a connection to generations yet to come. Mm-hmm. That we have a duty to the next generation to pass on the values. And I mean, I like in every home, a father, of course, is the strength of that home. But my mother, I want to say, is equally as strong in a different sort of way. The softest heart you would meet.
They certainly met extraordinary people. I know your father was well loved by so many.
Absolutely.
Were you very close to him?
We were inseparable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We were inseparable. I learned almost everything that I speak to now from him. Very wise man, very well-read man, and a very humble man. Coming from very humble beginnings, he was able to achieve great success, not just materially, but in terms of education for us all and the values that he has instilled in us.
Yes, well, I want to talk a little bit about those values. You've taken those values that he would have given you into this extraordinary career of yours. You've had a magnificent legal career. You're now the Minister of Legal Affairs. You're the Member of Parliament for St. Augustine. And, of course, you're the leader of the Congress of the People. Now, that has certainly been quite a lot to manage. But are you surprised that there were actually challenges to your leadership?
I welcome challenge because the only way that you will have growth. And in challenge, you will find the truth that manifested itself in my leadership. And I want to say this, all of those titles that you've given, or you've pronounced on today, didn't come just so. It came from a long stretch of work. And I'm happy you remember that interview, which I recall very vividly myself. It was in the environment of the voter padding cases where the police were prosecuting people left, right, and center.
Yes, that's
and people, there was a fear factor in the society, and people were afraid to go out to vote in that election. And I led a team that included Larry Lala and Chetram Sinanan and others to say no, that we will not allow the intimidation of our democratic right to be, so that people would not go out to vote. And to be reminded of that, it's so long ago, but yet still so vivid. So where I am today is as a result of hard work, which is something I learned from my father, that nothing in life is worth anything until you've earned it. And as we proceed now, in terms of the challenges in the party, you will get all sorts of criticism from people who wish to speak but never to have worked. And from the moment I entered the party, and in 2007 till today, I've never left it for a single day. I've worked blood, sweat, and tears literally on the streets of this country after the election in 2007 to ensure that the party was kept alive, because the COP is truly a hope and a beacon of where the country needs to go so that politicians can be trusted. Because you always hear that the definition of politicians is that you're corrupt, that that you look after your own interests.
Yes.
And I say that needed to be changed, because who are politicians? The politicians end up to be our leaders in the society.
Yes.
Prime Minister, President, ultimately, and cabinet. And if you can't trust your leaders, then you abdicate the responsibility to people who will go in for the very, very wrong things that you speak about.
You see, I'm very, very disturbed by the fact that many people get into politics not understanding that they're there to represent.
There's a duty and not
it's
an
a responsibility.
opportunity.
And
Yeah.
many of them abdicate that responsibility as soon as they take office. And we've seen too much of that. I mean, we need to borrow from the old Shakespearean bard that
Absolutely.
ambition should be made of sterner stuff.
Absolutely the point. I said it in different words, that ambition must be balanced with ability and commitment. And I want to congratulate this government, the People's Partnership Government, for changing the paradigm of politics, where we have responsibility and accountability for the first time in the real sense in politics. And we've seen the Prime Minister acting repeatedly when wrong is unearthed, or if a mistake is made, to say, look, this is wrong, you must pay the price for it. If a mistake is made, let's fix it. The pensions issue. For the first time, legislation passed unanimously in the lower house. Because of an outcry, the Prime Minister said, let's pause this.
Yeah.
This is COP in reality. And therefore, the transition of the politics from the values of the COP is now widespread. It is not limited to the party and party members. It has escaped into the wider domain. And no longer will anyone believe that they could come into politics having lived an ignoble life and having skeletons in their closet and expect to attain power and influence and wealth.
Yes.
And that has come in this short period of time.
And that it seems to be an overall preoccupation. It seems to be an overall preoccupation of many people who strive for
Yes.
or try to gain political office.
This is a point. So that what is happening now before our very eyes, what we had always spoken about and dreamed of, is manifesting itself in reality now.
Yes.
And that young people, in particular, who wish to come into political life, to go into leadership, must prepare themselves for office by living a life of nobility, honor, decency, and truth.
Yes.
So that you will know that there are no skeletons in your closet, no secrets in life anymore. So within this generation, the quality of politicians will change because of the COP, because of the partnership, because we were given that opportunity in government to prove that yes, it can happen. So when people talk about, a lot of people criticize the COP as being irrelevant. We could not be more relevant.
Yes. I want to come to that about the Congress of the People and what happened to her, because I spent some time with you.
Of course, I'm grateful for your help.
At the end of 2009, but I'm deeply disturbed that the issue of the power of the COP and the influence that you had in 2007. In 2007, you were able to gain 120,000.
148.
148. Good. Thank you for correcting me on that. But the local government elections presented a completely and utterly different scenario that disturbed me greatly. You lost the corporations, and many people are now saying, they're using words like the party is dead, the party's in comatose, it's been dissolved, all these sort of things. As the political leader, it is incumbent upon me to ask you the question,
Yes.
what happened?
Well, first of all, let us define what happened in local government.
Sure.
I am a political leader and therefore I have to take ultimate responsibility. But that election was in the midterm, when the general politics was at an all-time low in terms of the dissatisfaction from serious supporters. Forget those who never supported us. But what is the reality here? In that election, we ran in a few corporations, singularly.
Right.
Now, I advised my party that it was not the best thing to do, but many thought that flag bearing was more important than working together with our partners.
Right.
So they put it to a vote, which I respected, and they decided that in those corporations, the COP will run independently.
So that was not taken by you? That was an overall
No, it was,
decision?
you see, and they talk about I am being a dictator, but we have democracy in the party. I advised, and the party voted, and it sounded good, COP held corporations, but I knew there would be less of a motivation for other partners to come forward. Notwithstanding that, however, do you know, and it has not been well reported, and thank you for the opportunity, in the few corporations that we ran, we had over 30,000 votes, which is huge. especially in the environment of a midterm with great dissatisfaction where our partners were not motivated to come out. So the COP is alive and well, even though we did not succeed, like in the 148,000 in 2007, in getting seats. But that didn't mean that the COP, by definition, was irrelevant, nor was it dead. Or is it dead? Last night was a prime example where we filled the halls of Center Point Mall in our debate. The enthusiasm for the party is being revived by the election, and that is why I look for more challengers. But I want now, as we proceed, the election results will come on June 29th, but there's June 30th.
Yes.
That is the most significant day. What happened the election in 2007, the next day was most critical. Having lost, winning no seat, it took myself and a few others, and I shan't call their names because I could call them in 5 or 6 of us, who carried this party on our shoulders without help, right, to keep it alive, because I knew this light could not be extinguished. It should not be allowed to be extinguished.
Yes.
And we were everywhere in everything, the activism that I led. And I have to say about me, because I've been attacked when things go well, is we, or when it goes badly, is me. Well, of course, I want to now take ownership of the things that I had to do. And all those now who suppose themselves to be future leaders or even past leaders, they were never consistent in their efforts when hope had been lost on election night. I kept it going into 2010, created the grand consensus. You helped me with that, where we met with all of the stakeholders, other political parties, NGOs, religious organizations, unions, you name it, so that when the need came for the partnership to come together with the Access Tax Program, which I created.
You spearheaded that.
I created it and ran it. We all held hands, and the partnership was really formed before the elections.
Yes, because I know that you prepared all the legal documents for the public to understand what it meant.
And we were on the streets everywhere.
I saw that campaign. But coming back to the issue of leadership, were you surprised when the founder of the COP, Winston Dukuran, decided that he was going to endorse Carolyn Sipasapich? And were you surprised?
I was not surprised, but I'm disappointed, of course, because when I came into the COP, I came into a new paradigm of politics that was preached, and I hoped it would have been practiced. And we learned from Mr. Dukuran that we need to get rid of gatekeeper politics, where this maximum chief in the background will say, I approve you, I disapprove you, and you go forward. So the endorsement, as disappointing as it was, I think is no longer relevant, because the COP's support base is not a blind one, it is a thinking one. And therefore, they will exercise their own independent judgment as to what they think is right for Trinidad and Tobago. That's the beauty about the COP. The party itself is important, but it's far less important than the welfare of the country. And we have started to say, and I think most all agree, that what is best for Trinidad and Tobago is best for the COP. And therefore, the things that we were able to achieve, everybody could talk about it, you could read books and speak on matters. But what is important is, where is the body that carries your vision to where you want to go? And when I hear statements like, you can walk in the rain without getting wet, I wish that were true. I wish I could hide under an umbrella, but I have to face the reality of the changing weather patterns, the turbulent waters, the ferocious winds, and everything else, working and walking towards where we've set our vision, and we have achieved these things. We got rid of the property tax. That was going to, put a fear factor in everybody about losing their homes. In terms of the smelter that will have destroyed our environment, we fought that. The rapid rail, and you hear everybody complaining about the highway to Point 14. That rapid rail and the supporting Mr. Rowley would have gone through the east-west corridor, removing hundreds, if not thousands, of homes, coming into central Trinidad, destroying communities and the most arable farmlands. We fought that. And procurement legislation, everybody speaks about corruption. We say, don't talk about it anymore. Let's fix this thing. That came and unanimously passed in the Senate.
Yes, on Tuesday.
Changing,
together with the planning bill.
Absolutely. Changing critically the future of how we do business in this country. Constitutional reform will be placed on the order paper in the next session of Parliament. These are things everybody talked about, but we were able to do. And only able to do it because we participate in a partnership, which is not perfect, but we're improving it every day. And I could tell you now, I sense that the Prime Minister and our colleagues are far more comfortable in the relationship, having gone through that period for the last couple of years where almost every week the COP issued some level of threat. You can't have a threatening relationship because the first opportunity you get, they will get rid of you.
That's precisely the point. You seem to be reading my mind, because that's precisely the point that I wanted to come to.
Yes.
I listened to that very passionate speech that you gave at Mid-Center Mall in May.
Yes.
Very passionate speech. And I heard your voice actually cracking at certain points, because I knew as a director and as an actor, I was reading your body language.
Yeah.
I got a sense that you felt that you were being pushed. I got the sense that you were being pushed into a corner to become more antagonistic. Now, I'm very disturbed by the fact that following the FISA Accord, here it is, the People's Partnership didn't go the NAR route of becoming dissolved in one vat.
Yes.
You wanted to retain your identity. But I get the sense from people within the COP that you've got to be antagonistic. Now, from your leadership, I realized that you have a responsibility to your other partners, and I realize that you made your stance on Jack Warner, you've made your stance from time to time, but clearly I listened to your language since you've taken the leadership, that you were abundantly clear to say that I will use temperate language as opposed to becoming antagonistic.
Yes.
First question, when I listened to that speech, were you being pushed into a corner as a political leader by those under you or those around you to become a little more antagonistic, to start to become a little divergent from the partnership, or at least tangential to certain things within the partnership?
Well,
I got that.
Yeah, well,
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. There are many who believe that strength is being loud and being obnoxious and being quarrelsome. I do not believe that. I believe strength is in achieving the purpose you set out to achieve.
Right.
And you do so with a basket full of credit to yourself in terms of patience, wisdom, forbearance, and I could go on and on and on. So that people believe that the COP needing to be seen as separate and identifying its identity needed to be loud. I said, no, we don't need to. We will fight ferociously where we have to, only when we have to. But if we can fix things before we get to a fight, that is the way to go. Because in the society, we have far too much fight without building. And, when you push this way and you make demands in a certain way, there's a response from others. And you have to understand their point of view. And I learned from my father, one of the first things, a little child, do unto others as you have them do unto you. Yeah. Always look at it from the other person's or other party's point of view. And then you are able now to come to a harmonious ground where both sides can work things through, achieve for each other, and continue to work for each other. So that in an effort to show in their mind very, very limited approach to what leadership and strength is, yes, they wanted war. I said, I am built for war, but I'm prepared for peace. Mm-hmm. Peace amongst your partners, and we shall fight the war with the enemies of the people, which is Mr. Rowley and his crew, who has promised, after we fought and won, to return smelter to Trinidad, to return property tax, to return
He's going to do away with local government.
Local government and constitutional reform and you name it, all the things that we wished. This man is willing to be rid of and return it to the old. It's a return rapid rail.
Why is there this misconception that leaders, especially if you're in a partnership, need to be combative? Why is there this misinterpretation by individuals who think that a combative nature gives you the facade of being strong?
Well, I think it's like the squeaking wheel it gets the attention. If it's attention you want, that's another matter.
Yeah.
And that people, you see, and I had to say this repeatedly, and I'm embarrassed to say it, I was famous long before I became involved in the politics. Others want to use the politics to become famous, and they don't care the consequence of that.
Yeah.
I have to be very moderate because the society has seen far too much action without sensibility. And we need now, everybody congratulates and looks at Obama and say, what a great politician, great statesman and everything else. If you try to do that here, they laugh at you. They call you weak. They call you all sorts of things. And let me tell you something, my example comes, apart from my father, the life of Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King. In the face of all adversity, they were humiliated, ridiculed at some point in time.
And very temperate in their disposition.
Exactly, exactly. And bring people together, find a way to work it through. That is new to Trinidad and Tobago, but it is all in the concept of the panchayat system, the community-based relationship, that at the end of it, we have to live together and work together. So it don't make sense for me to win today, but destroy the relationship in the process. The relationship is what facilitates us working and achieving together. Like in a marriage, let me just say, forgive me, in a marriage, you know, so many people are right and divorced.
Yeah.
Why do you need to be right on everything when in fact you can accept the other person's point of view and give a little and gain a lot? And that, you know, we have to bring that sort of thinking and heart into the leadership of the country, because that determines the nature and character of your society.
How do you see the ILP looming on the peripheries of your election? Because I heard Lindy Roded coming out and saying that they would enter talks with the COP if Carolyn Sipasat-Bachin wins. Is there some kind of inner plot? Is there some kind of tacit complicity? Do you suspect some kind of tacit complicity that suddenly the ILP will be looming close to your elections and actually name-dropping within your campaign?
I thought that particularly unwise, now having been coronated into leadership, not being elected, to suggest that if one leader is chosen, then you will speak. I thought if your interest was for the country, whoever is leader, you have to be able to work with them. And, you know, maybe, unfortunately, Lindy Roy is a friend for a long period of time, may have forgotten. It was I who had led the Grand Consensus movement from 2007 right through. And I have announced earlier this year the Grand Consensus 2 that will embrace all political entities and invite them to come and meet and talk on issues as we prepare the next manifesto going into the next term. Because every political stakeholder has a right to a voice as to how we proceed. But to now say that only if Carolyn is leader, then you have eliminated yourself from the Grand Consensus, unfortunately, as much as I am willing to embrace. And it's still open. And maybe when you reflect upon it, realize that how very short-sighted that statement was, and clearly not one of a true leader. A true leader does not burn his bridge before he arrives. Maybe after you've crossed it, if you do not wish to return to somewhere, you burn your bridge, but not before you have arrived. You see? So I am open because we do need everybody on hand. There are huge issues for this country yet to face. I mean, I give you one example. The economy, of course, is stabilized and everything else. Global warming, climate change.
We're witnessing it right now. El Nino is in the midst of in the Atlantic Ocean.
Absolutely.
So we're seeing that. Yes, you're absolutely right.
And we've seen the kind of flooding in historic terms unseen before in Trinidad and Tobago in past years. We have to prepare for these things. Natural disasters as one example. So the country needs to come together, fix its foundation in terms of the economy, protect the environment, and work together now in terms, large bits of our flooding. Every year we know about this is people dumping debris in
river courses and water courses. Of
course, and then it floods.
Political leader, I just want to take a little break when we come back. Minister, my guest, the Congress of the People political leader, the Minister of Legal Affairs and the Member of Parliament for St. Augustine, Prakash Ramadhar. We'll be right back. We take a break, and then I'm going to show you a video from a senior politician and what he had to say about you.
Okay.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Relax. Take your time.
That general, incidentally, stood on the middle of a runway, in fact, in the middle of a field, with a pistol in his hand and shot at a Mitsubishi Zero flying over him and shooting at him, George S. Patton, well known in World War II. And with me is another general himself, and I must say, the Congress of the People political leader, Prakash Ramadhar, and he's here with us. Minister, I'm going to toss to a clip now
Yes.
of a senior government minister and a man who has been truly influential in his contribution to national development in this country. He took, incidentally, the planning and the procurement bill to the Senate together with you all. And this is what he had to say. I want you to pay attention to this clip because I know that you didn't see it.
No, I have not.
And I want you to see it now.
Thank you.
This is Dr. Botiwari and what he had to say about Prakash Ramadhar when I asked him about his own thoughts on it. Let's go to it.
Prakash has been a sound and capable and flexible leader, and I have no doubt that he will continue to lead the party well, which means, in other words, that I feel that he would be good for the Congress of the People and for the partnership as a leader, and I have little hesitation in endorsing him. I know both of them very well. I know Carolyn well. I sit in the cabinet with her. I know Lincoln Douglas well. I sit in the cabinet with him. Lincoln was a deputy leader.
Yes.
Carolyn was the chairman. In my view, they should have worked with the leader to make him stronger and the party stronger if they felt something was wrong, rather than basically step aside now and say, let us shoot you down because we feel we can do a better job.
That's coming from a senior cabinet minister and one of the longest standing and influential figures in national development in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
How do you view that?
Well, I will not attempt to contradict him at all. I think what he has said is truthful, and it's important to have other independent voices comment on issues, and I'm heartened to know that we are on the same page.
Now, is he right when he says that his own interpretation or his own inference is that you didn't receive the required support from your party executive as well as your political leaders?
Let me just say that the work ethic in the country generally is not where it should be, and that persons who hold positions must live up to the responsibility of those positions. That is across the board a problem in the nation, and certainly in my party, that you hold title, but you don't take responsibility. And that when, I may be unpopular with some only because I demand that if you say you are, then you must be. And therefore you will find that people may wish to have other leaders who will just allow things to go as they are and fall. I do not believe in that. When you have worked hard to build something, and I congratulate the efforts of those who may have started it. I didn't start it. I like planting a seed, but I was there to have watered it, to have nurtured it, for this plant to grow, and the roots are becoming stronger and stronger, only because of the nurturing, and the fruit will be born soon. But it takes continuous effort, and I learned in my life, because we had a farm, and when you had no labor, there was no holiday for me, or my father, or my brothers, that we had to go and look after animals. They had to be fed and tended to every single day. You can't just start something and leave it and abdicate it, and then say, oh, I'm the owner, I'm the shepherd, and you've heard a lot of references to that. You must perform every day in every way, and I think we fall in the party on that. To that end, I had made an effort to assist the chairman when she came in by asking some of our deputies to look after different bits of the organization, to assist her. That effort was sharply rebuked, that it was an infringement on her constitutional role. So I said, well, no problem, you do carry on. And I ask now, what has happened to the secretaries for communication, which is our biggest failure in the party? Busy in other things, but not in setting out the successes of the party. Youth Congress, Women's Arm, and I could go on and on. That's the responsibility of the chairman. But like a clock, keep making the point that if every part doesn't work well, the clock does not work. And therefore we need to ensure that every part of the system, every bit of responsibility is tended to, and personal responsibility at that. And I look forward to the next internal election, so that we would reinvigorate those who now hold positions, or if they really are not up to it, to demit office and let somebody else take place.
Do the honorable thing, as they say.
Yes. perform or put out.
Minister, I'd like to open up the telephone lines. Is that
I'd
all
be
right?
very happy, please.
665-6278, that's 665-6278. You get to talk to our Minister of Legal Affairs, the Congress of the People political leader, and of course the Member of Parliament for St. Augustine. Give us a call now, 665-6278, and you'll get an opportunity, of course, to talk to him. If you're re-elected, you're going to be facing, of course. Do we have calls? I'm hearing something. Yeah, do we have calls? Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Ramadhar.
Good morning.
Yes, go ahead, please, ma'am.
Yes, calling from Faizabad. I just want to wish Mr. Ramadhar all the best, and I'll let him know that Faizabad supports him fully.
I'm grateful for that.
And I was looking at CNC 3 this morning, and Miss Carolyn Baton was giving Hema such a hard time. You know, she didn't give her a chance to talk, to even ask questions. You know, she was very, very arrogant and aggressive, you know.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't think we want such things in a leader, you know.
All right, ma'am.
So, anyway, all the best, Mr. Ramadhar.
All right, and
And I
thank you
hope
for
you
giving
win.
Hema some free
I appreciate that.
publicity
Yes.
on my show. Let's take this other caller. Hello, 665-6278. That's 665-6278. Hello, good morning. All right, we lost that call. I'm actually getting the wrap here in a moment. We'll just squeeze one more in a bit. How do you respond to that? Because this is coming